Hello and welcome to the Writecome.com podcast, where we help you to make money from your words. Each episode will be sharing tips, tricks, and strategies you can use to make more money from your writing, publishing, and marketing to your fans and audience. Let's get started with your host, Barry J. McDonald.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode from Writecome.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled, How Good Are You at What You Do? Now, the other day, we had a gentleman in our home. He was professionally cleaning the carpet on the stairs. On the run up to Christmas, we have a couple of big parties, so a couple of big birthdays. My son Matthew had turned 21 and my daughter Lauren had turned 20. So we wanted to get the house as tidy as possible. We had just had a small party, especially with the COVID thing and everything. Unfortunately, the numbers are limited to how many people you can take into your home. So I was busy doing a lot of painting and tidying up and things like that. So Catherine hired the gentleman to clean the carpet on the stairs. Now, he came in, he took his equipment in, and he done a great job. He did transform the stairs. Now, you know, no matter how good you can clean the stairs with a vacuum cleaner, it does make a big difference when you can somebody who can just professionally wash it out and get all the kind of ingrained dirt out of it. So he took his equipment in, he cleaned the stairs, and then he just showed Catherine around at the end, and then he went off on his way. Now, it was only later on I was just thinking to myself, he had missed out on such a great marketing opportunity. You know, with technology nowadays, it's very, very easy to grab some testimonials or some evidence of the work you've done. So if I was in this case here, if I was that gentleman, I would probably have taken maybe a close shot of what the carpet was like beforehand, and then I would probably take a photograph of what it was like afterwards. And that could be something that I could use on my social media platforms. I could have, here's carpets before I arrived and here's carpets after I arrived. And, it would have been very easy for him just to maybe just whip out his iPhone and then maybe just ask for a testimonial from customers. He wouldn't have to put them on camera. He could simply do a voice recording in that they could say, my name's such and such, and I hired this gentleman to do my carpets, and he done a great job, and I would highly recommend him to anyone in the future, and blah 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 blah. So he could have had a great opportunity to grab a couple of screenshots, a couple of photographs on his iPhone or whatever. He could have had a chance to record a couple of testimonials, and he could have taken all that proof and he could have took it over to his website. He could have probably put it in his newspaper advertisements. He could have put it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, but he could have told the whole world how good he was at what he does. Now, this gentleman, probably like a lot of people in the kind of business, is probably looking for referrals. He's probably doing a lot of advertisements and probably has never ever, came into his head how simple it would be just to record a couple of things like that and how to use them in his marketing as a way to get, business. And as I was just thinking about that, while it's all good and, for me to point out what somebody else is doing badly, how many of us are actually doing the same ourselves? How many times have we, had an opportunity to tell somebody how good we are or the things that we can do, and we have kept it to ourselves? Maybe you're not telling everybody on social media that what you do, for example, in my own case here, I do self-publishing courses and I help people with writing and creating low-content books. And at the moment I have a training course on podcasting and how to record podcasts and all that. Now, it's easy for me, as I said, to point the finger at everybody else, but then I was just thinking to myself, how many times have I actually done the same myself? How many times have I gone to Facebook, bought loads of advertisements, and never actually, put on my own kind of Facebook feed what I am doing at the moment, how I've helped somebody maybe record a podcast, or how I've maybe helped somebody overcome their fear of being a published author, or how I've helped somebody do this or do that. I've, kept it to myself, even offline when we come to maybe dinner parties and things like that. When I got into self-publishing in the very, very beginning, people used to ask me, Barry, how's it going with the books and everything? Are you doing well? And, how's the kids' books doing? And for the longest time, I would change the subject as soon as possible. Now, I kind of was a little bit embarrassed that I was an author. It felt like, compared to these other people who had offline businesses and working on building sites and things like that, here was me just kind of showing up with a laptop, typing on the keys and, writing a book or whatever and getting paid for it. And like, they were out working hard, maybe in a building site or whatever, for a couple of hours, really putting in hard labour. And for me to kind of compare what I was doing compared to what they were doing, it did seem like I was cheating in some way. And unfortunately, because of that, I kind of held myself back. I didn't tell as many people about how well the books are going or how I could help them write books or whatever. I kind of kept all that kind of to myself. And, a lot of us probably have had good advice over the years, like the tip I've given you earlier on. But unfortunately, we kind of don't act on it. And I want you to just think about that. All the good, advice you maybe received this year in 2021, maybe you've done a lot of reading, maybe you've done a lot of study, you've done a lot of, online courses or whatever. And I just want you to think, how much of that have you actually put into action? Now, if I was probably to take a good guess on it, I would probably say 90% of that content was totally wasted on you. And if you actually took action maybe on the 10%, I would be very, very surprised. And I want you to think about that. Why haven't you actually taken action on all that good advice you've been given in the past? Now, there's probably a good reason for that, in that, like you or like me back then, when I was kind of, afraid to, tell anybody what I was doing, there's probably a lot of mental baggage going on in your head right now. You probably have some, doubts about yourself. You probably have some kind of lack of belief. You probably have some kind of negative thinking or whatever in your mind. And unfortunately, when you kind of filter all the good advice and all the good courses and everything through that kind of negativity and that kind of negative mindset, or that kind of, a low achieving mindset that you have, you're probably going to toss all of that away. And you'd be very, very lucky if you took action on one or two things. So I just want you to think about that today. Whatever you have studied this year, whatever you've read, whatever you've saw or whatever, how much of it have you actually put into place? Now, if it isn't much, well, then there's probably a lot of mental baggage deep down in your subconscious that you need to work on. You need to kind of have a look at why you do the things the way you do. Maybe you're just like me. Maybe you're embarrassed to be a writer. Maybe you were embarrassed that it could be so easy for you just to write a couple of words on a page and, have it electronically sent all over the world, and that you're not actually working on, in a coal mine, or you're not working on a building site, putting in long hours of labour. You're not kind of straining yourself at all. You just simply, have a cup of coffee in the morning, turn on your keyboard or your laptop or whatever, and you simply just type away for a couple of hours, and it's not that stressful. You're doing it from the comfort of your home. But maybe compared to other people, maybe you feel a little bit kind of self-conscious about it. Maybe you have a lot of kind of mental baggage from maybe years ago, from negativity from schools and teachers and all that, people putting you down, or maybe your own family putting you down and making you feel small about yourself. And if you have, maybe it's time to have a look at that kind of mental mindset that you are using to filter all that good evidence, all that good information you've received this year. What are you doing with it? And if you're not putting it into action, it doesn't matter how many video courses you're going to watch. It doesn't matter how many good books you're going to read. It doesn't matter even how much good advice I give out in this. If you don't, if you aren't putting it into action, there is probably a lot of things under the hood that you need to have a look at. And unfortunately, a lot of people will send you courses, they will sell you books, and you'll sell you all these different things, and will tell you that they are going to transform your life. And while all that, your information could transform your life, unfortunately, if we do give it to yourself or me or whatever, who have kind of a lack mindset, we're never ever going to put it into action. So I wanted you to give that some thought today. Again, that's something you're probably going to have to do a little bit of study on, and maybe you might need to go back to a couple of episodes of this podcast maybe to help you out. But I just want you to think about what you're doing right now and all the good advice maybe you've received over the weeks, months and years previously. Why haven't you put them into use? And again, if you want to take that tip I've given you earlier on with the carpet cleaner, that could really make a big difference to how people see you, and it could drive up some sales. And again, it's very, very easy to do, and it's not going to cost anything at all. So as always, if you'd like to reach out to me, or if you'd like to find out more of these podcast episodes, if you do a search in iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from for Writecome, that's WRITECOME.com, or if you want to find my courses, all the self-publishing courses, or you want to find out what I'm writing and putting on the blog and everything, if again, do a search in Google for Writecome.com. You'll find content on Facebook, you'll find it on iTunes, you'll find it on Google, you'll find it on YouTube. It's all over the place. So as always, thanks for sharing your time again today. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the Writecome.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.